Hello, Seahawk families. My name is Dr. Christina Logan, and I am the Director of Transition Programs. And I'm excited to host our family chat on preparing for fall break. The purpose of our family chats are to provide an opportunity for the university and our department to share information about various topics with our family members. And so we are so glad that you're here today. During our time today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from two of our current students, and they're going to share their experiences that they've had being a UNCW student around fall break. If you have any questions to ask us, you can send those through the comment box, and either one of us will either answer that question or someone else will answer it via the comment box back to you. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, I would like our two students to go ahead and introduce themselves to you guys.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Haley Soa. I am a junior here at UNCW. I'm a communication studies major with a minor in sociology, and I'm originally from Exton, Pennsylvania, which is about an 8.5 hour car drive and a 2 to 2.5 hour flight home.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Chris Shamets. I'm a senior here at UNCW. My major is environmental science, and I'm from Currituck, North Carolina, which is about 4 hours by car.
So in thinking about your typical behavior, how many times do you guys normally go home during a semester before fall break?
Normally before fall break, I don't tend to go home. Normally fall break is my first time going home.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Haley. I usually like to wait until fall break just so classes are getting good, and then just getting adjusted back in the flow of school.
So here at UNCW, fall break is going to actually be next Thursday and Friday. So you guys get 2 days without classes. So tell me, how are you feeling right now? What is going through your minds?
Honestly, I'm at the point in the semester where I can't believe fall break is already next week. I feel like we just started. But I'm pretty ready. I'm not personally going home, so I'm just going to be relaxing here. But yeah, so I'm pretty ready for that. My classes have been, tough, but now they're kind of leveling out and kind of letting me relax a little bit before fall break next week.
Oh, I'm stoked. I'm so ready to be home, see my family. We just had a couple birthdays, and so they all decided to wait to celebrate until I'm back. So that'll be really nice to see all of them.
So how often, one, do you talk to your parents, I guess, during the semester? And then can you also tell me, leading into fall break, do you guys ever have conversations about what your parents' expectations were with you coming home, what your expectations were coming home? Did that conversation ever exist?
So I talked to my parents, probably mainly my mom, like every couple days. I pretty much always find something to call her about, and I'm like, hey mom, you're probably tired of hearing from me by now, but hey. So I talk to her pretty often. We never really have had a specific sit down conversation about our expectations for fall break. So yeah.
I usually try to talk to both of my parents at least 2 to 3 times a week, and it kind of works out because I can just call one of them in the evening and they'll just put me on speaker and I can talk to both of them. But in terms for fall break, it's not like a formal conversation. It's kind of just like planning. So I had this conversation with my mom last week about what the plans were for the 2 birthday dinners that we're just gonna do a big joint one and then go to my nephew's football game. So we were just kind of clearing all of that up, and then I could make my schedule of being home around that.
So now, Chris, thank you for sharing that. I want to hear more about what you guys have traditionally done during fall break and what that looks like. So can you tell me about what your plans were previously? And then if you do want to share what you're having coming up this time, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, of course. So my first fall break, we it ended up working out to where a lot of my friends that I was close with growing up, we all had the same fall break, and so we all got home at the same time, and we spent a day, like the first day, with our family, and then we all went and went camping down in Cape Hatteras for the night. So that was super cool, and just to like get back with all of them. And then we came back a day before we all had to leave, so we were all able to spend some more time with our family and before we all had to go back to school. And then in terms of this upcoming fall break, it's really just getting back home, seeing my family. And so like since I'm a senior now, like graduation's coming up and I have no idea what the next step is. And so I'm just trying to see them as much as I can because who knows what'll come in June.
So Chris, this camping trip that you talked about, was this planned beforehand, or was this something that you went home and then your friends were like, hey, we should all leave for a few days?
Um, there was definitely the idea, but in terms of like planning, the execution could have been a lot better. But it was I mean it was cool. Like we all just like went with the flow. We were like, let's do it. And we all just got in our cars and drove a couple hours. So it was kind of like a spur of the moment thing, but it all worked out within our schedules and we just did it. It was super cool.
So since it was spur of the moment, kind of, did your parents have any idea that you might be leaving for a few days, or was that a surprise to them? And then if you could just talk to a little bit and tell us, how did your parents respond to that news when you were like, oh, I'm back and now I'm going to leave again?
Well, I kind of knew it was gonna happen as I was coming home because we had like made the plans while I was driving. And then so I just like called my parents. I was like, hey, like this is what's going on. And kind of made sure like I didn't know if they had anything else planned that I didn't know about. And so I kind of used that time to just make sure everything was okay, and which it was. But and then they were cool. They're like, like we get it. Um that like you haven't seen your friends in a couple months. And then yeah, and they were like, as long as like we have time to like for me to like go see my sister and like my nieces and nephews and stuff, that's what they were really focused on, and we were able to make it work.
So Haley, tell me a little bit about what you have done over the years for your fall break. What does that look like for you?
Absolutely. So my fall break, my freshman year, I had kind of already done some pre-planning with a lot of my friends. Like Chris, a lot of my friends had the same fall break that I did. And so going home, I'd already talked to my friends and been like, all right, I'm home for 4 days. I got you on Tuesday. I got you on Wednesday. I got you Tuesday afternoon. And so I had already kind of pre-planned that. And then I was like, oh, we'll see my parents at dinner. And then I got home and I was like, and they were like, we have a whole day planned for you. And I was like, ah. So that was a bit rough on my part because then I didn't tell them that I had plans already. I was like, okay. And then I canceled on my friends' plans because I was like, I'm not going to come home and immediately rock the boat. But so if you are, thinking about your student, maybe think about telling them plans and stuff like that. But it ended up being fine. I ended up hanging out with a lot of my friends from home, and that was kind of my goal. I didn't really relax all that much. I mainly was kind of go, go, go because I really wanted to kind of, foster those relationships that had kind of gone a little bit by the wayside since I had moved to North Carolina for college rather than being in Pennsylvania. So, some of my friends that I had lost touch with a little bit, I wanted to, kind of reconnect with. So that ended up being really fun, but a very busy fall break for me. Since then, I've kind of chilled out. I don't pre-plan as much. I much more go with the flow. This fall break, since I'm not going home, my mom and I have actually scheduled like a Netflix watch party for my family who's home and me, because it just didn't work out that I could go home this year. And so we have like a pre-planned fun thing for us to do. And then we're going to like FaceTime afterwards and talk about it and eat pizza. So that's going to be fun. So that's my like family thing that I get to do, since I'm not getting to see them because am gonna miss them definitely. But yeah, other than that, I'm probably just gonna hang out and relax.
So this Netflix watch party sounds like a really cool idea. So for the pizza and the food, chips, all the snacks, are your parents helping you pay for that? Because if you were at home, you'd probably just eat it, or are you expected to get your own pizza and like have everything ready?
See, you think exactly like me because when I mentioned it to them and I was like, hey, we could do this thing, and you could pay for a small Domino's pizza for me. So they are paying for my pizza, but then, other than that, I got all the snacks and stuff like that.
Okay. So can you talk to me guys a little bit about when you guys went home for fall break and thinking of your friends that were at home and your friends here that were at UNCW? What did that feel like leaving that first time? Were you worried? Were you concerned? Were you anxious? Were you excited? How are you feeling in terms of seeing some of your friends and leaving some of your new friends?
I was definitely a little bit anxious leaving the people that I had just met and just kind of connected with here at UNCW. Mainly because with friends that you hang out with constantly but haven't like left for the first time, it's a little bit, you're kind of like on edge of like, do I FaceTime them or do I talk to them all day, every day when I'm home? Or like kind of managing that communication with the people that you're leaving was a little bit trickier and at least gave me anxiety going home. And then going back to people that I hadn't been talking to as much because I had made all of these new great friends here. That was also a little scary for me. But then, once I got there and started hanging out with them, I was like it's fine. We have lots to talk about. It's great. But yeah, but it was a little nerve wracking going home, just like not knowing.
Yeah, like for me, like making that like transition, like hanging out with people that I haven't seen since graduation, it really wasn't all too bad because we all like my friends at college and my friends at home, we all had this like understanding that like my friends at college knew, like we all knew that we were all gonna go home and reconnect with a bunch of people. And so we kind of just like set that boundary. And it's like, hey, if you call me and I'm free, then like I'll answer, we can talk. But if not, like don't take it personally. And it was just like making us all aware of what was going on. And then for my friends at home, like we all were just like super excited to see each other and we had all gone to different schools. And so we all knew that everyone was gonna like bring like a cool story to the table and we all got back. And that's pretty much what happened. It was a lot of fun.
So if you guys think back over time, because you're upperclassmen and you've had numerous fall breaks experiences here, how has your preparation or response or changed over time in terms of what you're looking for during that time? So Haley, I'll give you an example. You mentioned that you felt like that first time you didn't relax and it was go, go, go. This time you're looking for something different. What does that shift look like and feel like as you are kind of moving up through the years?
I think it has a lot to do with comfortability here. I am much more comfortable here. I'm more comfortable with my relationships with my friends. I live in a house off campus, so I, feel very like home here. So having that and kind of being able to like relax and feel more comfortable rather than like be anxious, like I said, when I was my freshman year has definitely helped me, kind of gauge what I want to do when I'm um, on fall break. Probably going to go to the beach, and try and just like read a book, have a chill time rather than like be hanging out with my friends all the time because I am busy with school and I'm busy with friends hanging out a lot during like the school year and stuff like that. So during my fall break, I've kind of shifted from it being like, oh, this is my free time for friends to, oh, this is my free time for myself.
Yeah, I think in terms of the progression over the multiple fall breaks, in terms of like prep, I don't really think anything's changed, I guess, because there wasn't a lot of pressure with my first one. It was just like, okay, like I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna see some friends, gonna hang out, might get super busy, might have a day to myself, just kind of figure it out. Because like I over like the month and a half before with classes and anything I'm involved with and stuff, it's always been go, 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 and everything. There's like so much structure to it. It's kind of refreshing just to have a period of 4 to 5 days where like you wake up and you know what, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do today, and then you see what that day brings, and so that's what I'm looking forward to.
So I think that's actually a really good thing for our families to hear of when you are coming home. Sometimes it is that the structure that you have, you don't want that. And so you want to be able to sleep in and make decisions as they come. And maybe there's one plan a day, maybe there's no plan a day, but to really make sure that you're having that conversation about what that looks like if your student is coming home, and to actually check in to make sure they are coming home, and that they haven't made other plans to go visit a friend or someplace else. So Haley, you mentioned something, and I don't know if you even realized that you said this, but you said you felt like in your off-campus apartment that this is home. So yeah, you can kind of know where I'm going with this one. So when did UNCW become the place where you also refer to it as home? And if you've ever said that in front of your parents, did they have a reaction to that at all? But I'm just curious about that, because for me, I love it when students refer to the campus as their home, because that means that you're connected. You feel like you have a sense of belonging here. And so that's a really great thing. But I also know from a parental perspective, that can be kind of hard to hear. So can you tell me, when was the first time that you remember thinking like, this is my home, and you weren't referring to your house in Pennsylvania? We'll start there.
Sure. So I think first time I ever really felt like it was home was my freshman year fall break. Actually, I flew home to my house in Pennsylvania. And then when I came back, I got off the plane, my friend picked me up, and I got back to where I was living on campus. And I kind of had that moment of like, I put all my stuff down and was like, oh, I'm back. So I think that was when I first felt it. I was, however, very, very careful about not saying it around my family, because I was like very stepping on, I didn't want my mom's heart to break, basically. But they actually have started referring to here as home for me. So, if I'm at our house in Pennsylvania, they were actually the one to say it first, but they were like, oh, when do you think you're going home? And I was like, I am home, but I'm back to North Carolina probably like Monday. So I think they were the one to bring it up first, because I was a little hesitant to, but I definitely had been feeling it for a long time.
And then so I just want to clarify and point this out to make sure our families heard it. So when you talk about home now, you talk about UNCW as your home, but you still talk about as Pennsylvania as your home. So it's like you have two homes. It's not one or the other. It's both. Okay. Chris, what about you? Do you remember the first time?
Yeah, it's quite ironic because I wasn't the first one to say it either. My parents brought it up, and it was crazy because it was like before my first ever fall break. Like I was like, we were just like talking. I think I was like at like a restaurant or something, and my mom had called. She was like, okay, like just let us know when you get home. I was like, I'm not like, because like this was like a month in, and I didn't really like consider the dorm my home, I guess, because I don't know, it was like completely different. Like when I think of home, it's like my own room, like my own space. I don't have to share it with anybody. Like there's a fridge with food. I didn't really, I didn't have to walk to WAG to get food. Um, but yeah, and then so just as like time got on, and I really do think like the biggest thing that helped, because I call it home now, and that was just because I live with a group of guys that I've known since freshman year now, And so it's just like we've all kind of navigated this new experience together, and we've just all like been like had each other's back. And so it's just like a basically just like someone you can lean on. And we just created like an environment where it's just like a homey environment. And I also, another big thing is I have like a lot of like artwork and stuff that we used to have at my house back in Currituck. And so my parents gave that to me. So I have that all hung up in my room. So it's just like little things like that that can create more of a homey environment for me at least.
And then Chris, do you refer to your house in Cary and your house here now as home? Are you the same one? Are they interchangeable
Uh,
or no? You're like, my home is here now.
um, yeah, I would say that I refer to both as home, I guess, because it's like I feel it'd be kind of weird if I was like talking with a friend. They're like, "What are you doing for fall break?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to my parents' house." I would just say I'm going home. So
So it's interesting that both of you, your parents were the first ones that kind of said it, which gave you permission in a way to say it, whether you're feeling that or not, or to, for Chris, in your place, to think about like, what does home actually mean now? So if you were to help, I want you to think about first year parents, okay, and first year families. So for families that are coming home, their students are coming home for the first time for fall break, what piece of advice would you give them?
A bigger piece of advice would probably be kind of like we mentioned before, that there's a lot of structure here. There's also a lot of structure going home, like you have the same habits, maybe there's a chore list that you used to follow in high school, but just kind of a reminder that like your student hasn't had any of that here. There's no curfew, there's no limit to what you can or can't eat from WAG or something like that, or at what time. So kind of just remembering that like they're gonna have this want for less structure, both from what they used to have to do in high school maybe, or what they have going on here with classes structure and that sort of stuff. And then little piece of advice, if there's a restaurant they really like, I definitely recommend doing that. Every time I go home, my parents take me to Plaza Azteca, which is a Mexican restaurant near us. And it's like my favorite part of fall break. And I get to see my favorite waiter, and it's a great time. So I would definitely recommend that.
Okay, so Chris, before you answer that question, Haley, I just want to, so is there a difference between your chores and everything when you were in high school, like expectations, things you had to do around the house compared to high school to now when you go home? Is there a difference between the two? And if so, what are those differences?
So with chores, no. I still do have to do the dishwasher when I go home, and I still do have to take out the trash on Sunday night. But with the thing that my parents lightened up with is curfew. So I used to have like a strict 10 o'clock curfew in high school, and now it's sort of like a text me if you're going to be out later than 11 p.m., 11 midnight, something like that. So just let us know when you're getting it home, so we can make sure you're safe and not dead in a gutter somewhere, rather than be home at this specific time.
So Chris, what piece of advice would you have for first year families?
Um, honestly, the best thing that I could say, and it worked for like my parents and I, is just to communicate, honestly, because it's like there's a period of time where like your student will be back, and there might be something that your student wants to get out of it and what you as the parent want to get out of it. And so as long as there's just like open communication about like that topic and that time home, I don't think there should be like any issues. And then there might be like if like you want to do this, but like your student doesn't want to do it. It's just communication. I know from experience, like coming home after being gone for the first, let's say 2 months, it was different. because like this was a place that like I grew up for 18 years and I haven't been back in 2 months, and so it was definitely different. But like my parents did everything they could to make me feel right at home, and they kind of gave me leeway on like they were like, this is your fall break. Like we're not the ones that are taking 15 credit hours. That's you. So like we want you to like do what you want to do, and so it's just flexibility and communication, honestly.
Chris, do you mind going into a little bit more detail on what some of those differences that you referenced were?
Yeah, of course. So I do know with my very first fall break, when like my friends and I went camping, one big thing that like I always try to do whenever I go home is go to church with my mom on Sunday. And this time around I wasn't able to because of that was when we were coming back, that was when the service was. And so I know she was pretty bummed about that, but I mean, it's just like little things like that. If it's like expected that you're gonna like, she was expecting me to go, and I mean, and rightfully so, because like that's just how it is with her and I. But so like that was tough, but it wasn't the end of the world. She understood, and I understood where she was coming from, and that's what it. Going back to that communication, like we just had that conversation, and I told her I was like, look, I promise, like I will. The next time I'm home, I'll go with you, and that's what we did. We got through it.
So the next question I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to a family member if their student is introverted, and just doesn't like to communicate in general? How would you tell family members and parents, like, this is how you can kind of go about that conversation to make sure that fall break is a positive experience for everybody?
I would say definitely try and be the one who takes that first step in communication. So if your student is a little bit like less likely to try and talk to you about how they're feeling or what they have planned, definitely be the one to put yourself out there first, because that will definitely help your student be like, oh, okay, these are their expectations. And then that I would say they're more likely to communicate with you their expectations and stuff like that.
I would say for like first year parents, just kind of going back to how they operated like that summer, I guess, and kind of just like seeing like picking up on like different like cues that your student presented while they were still there, and maybe referring to one of those to lean on. I know at least for me, I like in terms of my like character, I didn't change, like I didn't drastically change who I was as a person before fall, like my first ever fall break. And I know that's not for everybody, but like that was something that like my parent, like the communication like habits that we had built up while I was gone, like that's what we used. And then kind of just go back to what Haley said, if you're showing the willingness to take that first step and like engage that conversation, I think your student could find comfort in like your efforts and be willing to work with you.
And the only piece that I will add that sometimes it might be helpful if you give them a reason why you're asking some of the questions. And so if you do open and you're making that effort and you're getting one word responses and you're not getting what's really helpful, I think it's fair for you to say, we're just trying to make plans. And so we don't want to wait. If there's a restaurant you want to go to, we want to make sure that it's open. We want to make reservations. And so it might help the student understand of like, okay, they're not prying. They really are just trying to figure out some times that we can be together. And then I would also say maybe ask very targeted questions. And so if your student is introverted and they do have a friend group going home, to ask like, have you talked to your friends? Have you guys made plans to do something? And if they say yes, when are those plans? And so I think it's fair. You might not be able to ask broader questions and you might have to ask some pretty specific ones. And if they're giving you one word answers, then know that, okay, every question I ask, I'm going to get one word. So I'll just have to ask a bunch more, and know that that's okay for you to do that. And your student might not like it in that moment, but they will understand it later on. And so is that correct, Haley and Chris? Are you forgiving with your parents sometimes when they ask you lots of questions? Okay. So just know that they're going to forgive you for that, but just you keep trying, and eventually you will get the response that you want. So we are at our time today. I want to thank Haley and Chris for giving us some time on your Friday to be able to spend some time with our families. And I want to thank our families that have logged in live and those that are going to watch later on. We appreciate you. And I hope that you know that my department, transition programs, we're here to support families. And so if there's anything that you ever need, you can reach out to us, you can call us or send us an email, and we're here to support you. So thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day.